Something on your mind again? Let's work through it together. 2 heads are better than 1.
You heard the Dendro Archon. So this video is going to be about how to build your Nahida as free-to-play player. No signature weapon, no constellation. C0 Nahida and her best 4-star weapon and best artifacts for her. So now the question is how you need to build her to get the most of her at C0. At the moment, she is the best support in the game, even better than Kazuha. So we should build her like she is meant to be built. Now, let's talk about what is the most important thing in her kit. That's her element skill. Everything she does is connected to her element skill. It could be her element burst, her passive skills. Everything that she does is connected to her element skill. You can press and hold her element skill. The press does simple damage and even marks enemies with a Dendro, whoever gets hit by it. It can be more than one enemy. Now with hold, you will go into aiming mode that will last for most 5 seconds, and she can mark a maximum of 8 opponents. Now everything starts after they are marked by her element skill. Once they all are marked by her element skill, they will all be linked to one another, and whenever any one of those opponents is hit by element reaction, all of them will take Dendro damage. And you can trigger that every 2.5 seconds. That damage depends on your Nahida's attack and her elemental mastery. Now the most important part in this is the duration of her skill. That can almost last for 25 seconds. That is insane. And not to mention, 5 and 6 seconds is cooldown for her element skill. That means if you are fighting a single opponent, that skill will last until it is dead. So the most important talent in her kit is her element skill. Make sure to level it up first. If you are thinking about why I haven't maxed her element skill, but her element burst, because her element burst looks way cooler in open world, that's the only reason. But her element skill is the most important talent. Now let's talk about her element burst. First of all, her element burst cover a big area, so your opponent going out of her burst range will not happen often. But if they do, her element skill will still be on them. Now her element burst works different ways. It depends on what party members you have in the team. And if you have Pyro DPS, and they use Pyro element reaction, the opponent, who is marked by her element skill, will get more 26.8% damage. Now that's only if you have only one Pyro character in party. If you have 2, the damage will be increased from 26 to 40.2%. This part is for only people who want to use burning reaction. Now if you have an Electro character in your party, her element burst reaction will change. Opponents who are marked by her element skill take damage per 2.5 seconds, but when they are hit by Electro, that time will decrease. And that will depend on how many Electro characters you have in party. If you have one Electro in a party, then your passive element skill will trigger every 2.05 seconds, and if you have 2 Electro characters in a party, it will trigger every 1.83 seconds. Now, if you have Hydro DPS like Nilo, then her element burst will have different effects. It will increase the duration of her element burst. Again, if you have one Hydro teammate, then duration will increase by 6.02 seconds. If you have 2 party members, then the duration will increase by 9.03 seconds. Now this is the most important part. Her element burst duration is 15 seconds, and its cooldown is 13.5 seconds, and it only costs 50 energy. So, just like her element skill, her element burst can always stay on the field. And if you have Hydro DPS, then it will last even longer. Only these 2 talents make her great support. I will say this now. For C0, she works better as support than DPS. But we will talk about that later in this video. Her element burst was already top tier talent, but this passive makes it even better. When you are inside her element burst, whoever in your party has the most element mastery can buff the member who is on field. Say, if your Nahida has 1000 element mastery and your Sino has 0, but when Sino is inside her element burst, his element mastery will be increased by 25% of Nahida's element mastery. That means he will have 250 element mastery when he is inside her element burst. This passive is connected to her element skill. Each point of Nahida's element mastery beyond 200 will grant you a 0.1% damage bonus, and a 0.03% crit rate from every opponent is marked by her element skill. And you can get a maximum of 80% damage bonus and 24% crit rate. In Razor language, the more element mastery your Nahida has, the more damage bonus and crit rate your party member will get. This is another great talent. You can collect stuff quicker this way. Just use your element hold mode on material, and it will be in your bag. It also has a different effect if you use it on people from Sumeru. Like why this lady is here.
Then I don't have to deal with Mahamudra Sino's jokes.
Oh, that's why. Or what is this guy thinking?
Surprise. Now that Kave's back, he's arguing with the scribe again.
Uh-huh. Nothing much to worry about. He is a fan of their shit. Now, let's talk about weapons. This is her best free-to-play weapon. Sacrificial Fragments. If you have it, just use it. You don't need to look for anything else. First of all, its sub-status is very good for Nahida, because it has higher elemental mastery than many other weapons. And its passive is also very good, though if you have it on R1, then you can't use it often, but nevertheless, it is very good passive, considering how low cooldown on her skill is. But if you can use it 2 times in 5 seconds, then you don't need to ask for anything else. For free-to-play players, this is her second best choice if you don't have anything at all. Just craft this and let's go! Not only it has elemental mastery as a sub-status, but its passive is very good for Nahida. Every time you trigger an elemental reaction, you will get 8% elemental damage bonus, and you can stack it 2 times, means 16% damage bonus for 10 seconds. If you want your Nahida as DPS and you have Widsith, then it's your best choice. It has high base attack and crit damage as sub-status. That is what you need on DPS Nahida. This passive has 3 buffs, and only one can be triggered at a time, and its buff will last for 10 seconds, and it is random, so you will never know which one you will get. Now the first buff will increase your attack, and the second is even better. It will increase your elemental damage. Now the third buff will increase your elemental mastery. These buffs makes it the best weapon for DPS Nahida. Let's talk about artifacts. I will get this straight. Deepwood Memories is the best artifact set for her. And that is it, that's what you need. If you don't have it, farm it. You can use this artifact on your support Nahida and your DPS Nahida. Look, this artifact is especially made for her. From its color to design, everything resemble her. Let me tell you how it works. First of all, you need to have elemental mastery on Sans. Even if you are using her as DPS or support, you need elemental mastery on Sans. And now for a goblet, if you are building her as DPS, then you need to have a Dendro damage bonus, and for sub-status you need to have crit damage and crit rate. If you don't have it for the time being, then even element mastery will work. But for DPS Nahida, you need to have good crit value on her. And for your support Nahida, you need to go with elemental mastery for goblet. Support Nahida doesn't need anything other than elemental mastery. Look, if you are looking for 1000 elemental mastery, then you can't bitch about how you have low crit value, just deal with it. Now for Circlet, for DPS Nahida, you need to go with crit rate and crit damage Circlet. As a free-to-play player, you will be using Widsith for your Nahida, which is crit damage as sub-status. Then you need to go with crit rate on your Circlet. But if you have another weapon, then you can go with crit damage. For your DPS Nahida, you need to have good critical value with good elemental mastery. And for support Nahida, even for Circlet, you need to go with elemental mastery. As your support, she needs nothing but elemental mastery. There are many other combinations for artifact sets, like the 2-piece set, Wanderer and Gilded Dreams. Any 2-piece that gives element mastery as sub-status. For your DPS Nahida, what you need is crit damage, then crit rate, and then elemental mastery. This is how you need to build your Nahida. And for support, just give her elemental mastery. The priority is elemental mastery, and then you can go for crit damage and crit rate. Now another set you can give her is Gilded Dreams. It is a good set, but it's not as good as Deepwood Memories. Deepwood should be your first choice.
Don't tell me
Now,
they did
let's
it
talk
again.
about teams. The first team is free to play will be this. Traveler and Nahida as main
If you're
DPS,
not sure what to do
and
next,
Water Pokemon and
how about
Shinobu
I
as
take one
support
along?
and healer, since both of them can heal. Look, this is the most effective team if you don't have any other 5 stars.
Opportunity is quite hard to
This
come
team
by.
versus
Well
Child.
then,
He will
amuse
become La
me.
Senora
Surrender is a
before you
valid
know it.
option. I promise I'll be gentle.
Everyone hold hands.
You missed a spot. Fine opportunity. You've made some
Minute to memory.
progress. Not bad. You've got a trick or two.
Get with me. Lightning terrified. I see everything.
Scatter!
Body enough. Rain outlines your fate.
Make yourselves at home.
Let me weave you a verse.
As free-to-play player, you will not get a better team than this. We can change Traveler with Alhaitham if you have him.
Make
Since
yourselves
he is
at home.
Dendro DPS, he will do more damage than Traveler, and he is fast as well. He works very well with this team. Now if you have Zhongli, then you can remove your healer from party, then you can mix any team with him. It could be a Hydro Bloom team, or a Burning Pyro team, or Fast Electro team. It will work. Now, let's talk about what if teams. That mean not all of us have it, but some of us have it. So first is the Hydro team. Now we have a lot of Hydro DPS right now. The guy we beat up a while ago. And Ido, Yelan Mona, and the one who can give you the most bloom damage is the dancer from Sumeru, Nilo.
It's quite hard
And
to
there
come
are a
by.
lot of
Well
combinations you
then,
can
amuse
use.
me. Surrender
You can
is
go
a
with
valid
2
option.
Dendro characters
I
and
promise
2
I'll be
Hydro
gentle.
characters for Bloom team. And you can even go with 3 Hydro characters and Nahida.
Let me weave you a
That will
verse.
work too. 2 Hydro can be Ayato and Water Pokemon from Liuef, or Mona or Yelan. It could be anyone,
Not bad.
as long as you can get Bloom damage. But the best team for Bloom is Nilo as main DPS, Nahida and Traveler as Dendro support and Kokomi as healer.
All eyes on me.
That is the team that will give you most of the damage. But as free-to-play player, I think it will be very hard to get all these 5-star characters. But you can remove Kokomi with Barbara if you have Nilo. But you know, it can be a simple team as Nahida, Yao Yao, Xingqiu and Barbara. This team will work too. This was the Hydro team from Nahida that increased her elemental burst timing. Now the next team is Pyro team for Nahida. The Pyro team increased the damage of her element skill. First you need is main Pyro DPS who can deal damage. The first player you can put in your party is Bennett, since he is Pyro Archon. Now the next person you can go with is Dea. For burning effect, what you need is Dea. She is the best option you have. Of course, you can go with Hu Tao and Aluk. But just you know, Sumer character buff each other very well. Dea is all about burning effect. Now the last team is Electro. That decreased the timing of her element skill trigger effect. For Electro, you can go with Raiden Shogun as main DPS and Kuki for healer. For support, You can go with Water Pokemon. This is the best team for her Electro effect. But you can change Raiden Shogun with Sinnoh if you have him. Or even with Miko. But here is a thing. Raiden Shogun and Sinnoh will do more damage than Miko. That is a fact. And now it is time for today. I will see you in the next video. If you liked the video, then feel free to subscribe.